And we're working on the new budget for 2012-2013. Now keep in mind, when we talk about the budget having a deficit of $24 billion, which is pretty close, I think, for the next 2 years, we need to remember that on top of that, we have a deficit even meeting the budget that we already have in process. Halfway through a budget cycle, and we're probably $10 to $11 billion short on that one. So there's been some talk of using the rainy day fund. There is actually money. This is not smoke and it's not mirrors. There actually is money in a rainy day fund. Somewhere, I don't know, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $11 billion. No, $18 billion, I'm sorry, $18 billion, which they're talking about using half of that. And there's a possibility. Now, Senator Ogden and the Lieutenant Governor advocated that we use half of that. And if we're ever going to have a rainy day, this is it. I mean, I want you to know things are pretty snug. And if you're ever going to have a fund for special occasions, a spare tire, we got a flat one. We need to use our spare at this moment. But in the House, the people who ran on the no tax theory basically have stated, you know, we're not going to use that fund. We're going to be able to go home and say, we kept the rainy day fund intact, we continue to add to the rainy day fund, we didn't vote in any taxes, we have a balanced budget. The problem is we're not going to have state services left. And a lot of you people here, I think, work for state agencies or affiliated with state agencies. You work on a daily basis in hand-to-hand with state agencies, and we're going to see some changes in this that are really, really drastic. I know I sound like Amos or one of the Old Testament prophets of gloom and doom here, but I want you to understand that there's no bright picture to this whole thing. We're talking about, we had the 5% cut in the existing budget. We've already had another 10% cut that each agency has been asked to come up with. We had a 7.5% cut already on the new one, and they told them to come with a new budget 15% less than the previous 2-year budget. That's state agencies. So you think, well, is the executive branch doing this too? Are they cut, or is it just state agencies? But no, even the House members. Representative Keffer was telling me that he has a 15% cut in his office funds. He has a 15% cut or 17% cut, I believe, in his committee funds. You know, so it's going to be pretty snug even there. We're pretty well cutting everything, except probably the governor's emerging technology fund, and he's protecting that like the goose that laid the golden egg. I want you to know. And that's not setting well with Ogden. It's not setting well with Representative Pitts. So I think there's going to be a lot of controversy before this is over. I've never seen a budget process move at the speed that it has this session. We're to the point where this afternoon they hope to have the final markup done on the House bill on most of the areas, most of the divisions of the budget. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what they do, and that budget basically is going to be similar to what you read about in the paper, the Legislative Budget Board. The Legislative Budget Board is made up of elected officials primarily, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker of the House, the leadership, the Senate Finance Chair, the House Appropriations Chair, are basically who the Legislative Budget Board officers are. And then the staff comes up with the recommendations. Keep in mind that what you've read so far is the recommendation for a budget for the next 2 years. It's simply what has been recommended is we can do this and live within our tax revenue projection. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that really works out. Every agency is going to be severely cut. I work with a number of them. We're looking at TxDOT and its shakeup. We're not sure, and I don't think anyone is right now. We're shaking up TxDOT to the point where I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like when they get through. They've already talked about no money for maintenance. You know, this kind of thing is what we probably need. The problem being sometimes you can save $1 and lose yourself $100 in the long run. If you don't repair roads and you have cold winters and bad weather, you actually ruin the road that's there. And this is true with so many of the things we have. Health and Human Services is going to be hard hit, and I guess it concerns me in thinking about MHMR and the things that we deal with in that realm. You know, we look at the fact that if we don't provide medication, if we don't provide counseling, if we don't provide those services that those people need, then do they become wards of the county? What happens? You know, I think we're going to see more and more costs passed down to county and city government than than we've ever seen before. I mean, that's my fear. And I think that's probably just what commissioners, courts, and city councils need the least is another fee, another charge, another expense handed down from government at any level. Last 2 years ago, when we did the budget, we sort of got ourselves in a real crap, because at that point, we actually used stimulus money to batch out the budget. And we didn't have ongoing revenue to take the place of that when the next cycle came. So we used billions of dollars of federal stimulus money to match out the budget and make it meet the comptroller's projected revenue stream and the budget the last time. This time we don't have stimulus money, and all of a sudden it caught up with us. Now, how do we continue now with that level? Because last time we didn't make any preparation for the next 2 years, really. We didn't make any plans for how we deal with the budget we're now dealing with. So it's going to be extremely challenging, is a good word. I don't envy those. I was with one of my former members drinking coffee at the cafeteria yesterday morning. He said, you know, he got out when I did in 2001 or whatever that was. And he said, I really do miss being in the legislature, but not this year.